Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Locked, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor. We got a few different things to talk about. Not a huge bunch of storylines, but there's a bunch of tournaments that went on last week. It always feels weird after Worlds, like trying to come back to reality.
It felt like the season was over to me. I was just like, oh, there's more events happening. Like, the world is still turning.
No, I thought disc golf's still going on.
I thought we all just needed to take a little break for a second so we could just process what had happened.
It's like the second season. Disc golf season
feels
part
like.
2.
It feels like the disc golf season. It feels like literally like we're restarting and we're like building up to the next major, which I love.
Yeah. So last week we had the Clash of the Canyons, which was a Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver Series event. There were some pretty notable names there, but not that these top 3 aren't notable, but you're not going to hear the notable names in this top 3. Like, I believe Nico was there. A few other names. I forget exactly who was there because there was another event that happened, which was the Minnesota Majestic, that also had notable names.
Was Calvin at this one?
Kevin Jones, James Conrad, Garrett Gerthy.
Was Calvin at the Clash?
I'm not sure, actually. Here,
I feel like he was.
Konner can look that up. Konner, look up the Clash of the Canyons. We're starting off on a strong foot. But basically what I was going to say is we had a playoff between Terry Roethlisberger and Dan Schlitter. Dan Schlitter ended up winning in the playoff, and Chandler Fry ended up coming in third on the MPO side. This raised a question to me, which is, who the heck is Dan Schlitter?
I never heard of the guy.
I hadn't either.
Discraft Dan.
He is unranked on the UDisc World Rankings. Completely unranked. So, because I wanted to be able to be like, the probability of him winning this event against this field, tried doing it, and he's not even ranked.
Yeah.
He's local to Illinois, which is where this tournament was. He doesn't seem to really be touring much. He played at like the Las Vegas Challenge and at Memorial and stuff early in the season, but doesn't look like he's like really touring much outside of Illinois, so he can play like Ledgestone and stuff like that later in the season. But he has 23 career wins, but this is his first A-tier win.
Wow, that's impressive.
And what a time to do it than at a Silver Series event.
Yeah.
The Nick and Matt show brought up a good point, which like this event felt like what the Silver Series events were like supposed to be or like used to be. Like at the beginning of the season, Silver Series events were drawing like the Rickies, Pauls, Eagles, to where like they're basically another Pro Tour event. Mm-hmm. Whereas this seems to be back to like a good field, but like that like almost that like entry tour level field, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I do not see Kevin Jones' name on the list.
I was looking for Calvin.
No, not Calvin Heimberg. Well, just sort by rating.
Yeah, who's the
sort
highest
by rating and
players?
tell us the highest rated players there, so we can give a good scope of who Dan Schlitter beat this week. You can just like tap the rating at the top and it'll bring him up.
You can do it.
You got it?
It's sort of the opposite way. There we go.
There you go.
We have, the top rated person was Philo.
Okay.
Philo, Nico, Noah,
Noah who?
Minsma.
That's Majestic. That's the Minnesota Majestic.
This is Clash of Canyons. Clash of the Canyons.
Which year?
2020.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because Noah
Miensma just won the Minnesota Majestic.
I was like, did we like mess up something brutally here?
Why is that the one that came up whenever I looked it up?
I don't know, man.
The PDJ website is a mess. That's why.
You gotta pay attention to what you're clicking on. It should say Silver Series too. Well, now we're just too invested, so we're just gonna wait for Konner here.
Now
we're waiting for you.
I like it when you're under the gun like this.
Yeah, you're under pressure right now, man. Everyone's waiting on you.
Canyon Silver Series.
Yeah.
2021.
All right,
here we go. Sort by that rating. Tell me who was there, since I didn't do my research.
All right,
apparently.
Nico.
Yeah, okay. I knew Nico
Andrew
was there.
Marweed, Chandler Fry, Gavin Rathbun, Ezra Robinson.
Okay. So the biggest notable name is Nico.
Yeah.
So what, like I was saying, it's like a true Silver Series field where there's like several players above 1,000 rated, one or two like top guys, and then the rest are just like local pros and stuff like that trying to make a name for themselves. But it's a very impressive win for Dan Schlitter because he beat a pretty strong field and had to go to a playoff with Terry Roethlisberger, which Terry made a name for himself. I believe it was D-Glow last year or 2 years ago when Paul shot that like 18 down.
Yeah.
Terry, I believe, was the guy who was like right behind him. Mm-hmm. Or was that Willie Prince?
It might have been Willie Prince, actually.
Might have been Willie Prince. Terry's made a name for himself on the Pro Tour at an event. I remember there was like a breakout event for Terry. For some reason, I thought it was that, but I don't think it was. On the FPO side, we had Krishna Tatar taking it down. Good to see her getting another win back stateside. We also had Sarah Gilpin coming second and Holly Finley coming third. a lot of people were making a big deal about this Krishna Tatar win. Not that it wasn't a big deal, but I wanted to see like how impressive was this really.
Yeah.
And this is where I love the new statistics we have with the UDisc World Rankings, because what it allows us to do is Krishna Tatar is ranked 4th in the world, Holly Finley is ranked 19th in the world, and Sarah Gilpin is ranked 23rd in the world. So using the UDisc, I believe they call it dominance.
Dominance factor.
Dominance factor, or something like that. Using their dominance factor, you can like compare them and see the percentage chance of winning these matchups.
Yeah.
And so Krishna Tatar is expected to win 80% of the matchups between these three.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like everybody, like it's impressive to win at any point
Yeah.
in disc golf right now. But like Paige and Kat are like, if you looked at Worlds, even like that's clearly who she is. You know, it's going to be really.
Well, even if
struggling
Haley
to beat.
King was in this field,
right? Yeah, Haley wasn't there either. But that's what I'm saying. Like she should have won, and she
exactly.
did. So
It's not like it's not an impressive win because it was a Silver Series event. It was still a strong FPO field.
Yeah.
It's just she was missing those like 3 or 4 killers in the FPO field. So
it was hers to lose.
yeah, she basically had a 20% chance of losing, and she didn't. She won. So still an impressive win. It probably felt really good to her to get another win, and like hopefully build some momentum. I believe she's also playing in the
She'll be at Des
Moines Challenge coming up this weekend, which we'll talk about that later in the podcast. So we'll see if it gives her some momentum rolling into that event as well. But we also had the Minnesota Majestic, which just was interesting to me because the Majestic was just an A tier, and the Clash of the Canyons happened at the same time. It's a Silver Series, also just an A tier sanctioning wise. But like a Silver Series has a little bit more of an edge, I feel like most times. But people just love the Minnesota Majestic. So a lot of the like more top tier players, such as Double G, Kevin Jones, and James Conrad were at the Minnesota Majestic, which is probably why they weren't at the Clash of Canyons. But we had Noah Miensma taking it down. Kale LaVisca, Minnesota local legend. You probably have heard his name on tour quite a bit as well. Yeah. He comes in second. And we had Ryan Sheldon, Double G, Kevin Jones, and Colin Bailey all tying for third. So again, kind of like Dan Schlitter, let's take a look into Noah Miensma. Dan Schlitter I had never heard of before this event.
Yeah.
Noah Miensma, at least I've heard of him before.
He just got signed this past off season.
Yeah, I think he go to DGA. He was with Innova for years.
Yeah, well, I think he went DGA. Yeah.
But like he's toured here and there for years. He's had some finishes where he's been on coverage and stuff like that, to where I've heard of him. But this was surprising to me. This was also his first A tier win.
Wow, that is very surprising.
I didn't realize that.
Guys that get on tour like early on in their careers, though, like that's kind of what's going to happen to you. Like if you're not playing local a lot before you go on tour, then like you probably won't win an A tier for a while because you're going to have to beat everybody.
Exactly. And this is also another thing where I really love these UDisc things because it shows us the flip side of the coin. So where Krishna Tatar had 80% of a chance to win, Noah Miensma, he's ranked 68th in the world, and he at a field with James Conrad, Kevin Jones, and Double G. So those are the people I compared because those are the more notable names there. Mm-hmm. He only had a 1.9% chance of winning. So 1.9% chance of beating a field that includes James Conrad, Kevin Jones, and Double G. And he did it. So pretty impressive win. That's updated after he had won. So he might have had a lower percent chance going into the tournament.
Interesting? This is the first metric that this is like one of the first, like, I guess we don't know quite the accuracy of it, but UDisc is a pretty good company and they're pretty good with statistics. But this is like kind of one of the first predictive metrics that I've seen that could be used to like do to like bet on disc golf,
sports betting,
like because you're literally like right there. You said it. So if you're going to the event, if you were able to bet on based off of dominance stuff, like using that percentage, then like you would have had, a 1.9%, you could adjust it to make the odds. But that's the first time I've seen like in our sport, we've had like an accurate, now we're calling it accurate, like I said, but we don't completely know how accurate it is, but a predictive metric like that.
It seems like it's so after one thing we talked about when we first saw it announced is we were going to like look at it over a few events and see it change. It does seem like it's pretty actively changing.
The ranking system itself, to me, seems to be pretty solid.
It's all based on the dominance.
Yeah, it's just I guess I'd have to look a little more into that equation to see how they're making it work with the dominance, to like what all they actually factor into that, whether it's just like literally their place in the rankings or if there's other factors.
Yeah, I looked into it.
Because like from a betting standpoint, you couldn't have let's say you have a Greg Barsby, right? And you're playing an event in California versus an event in Virginia, for example.
I don't think they factor location.
Right. So if you're not factoring location, that's where betting would get majorly skewed, because everybody would be betting in on Greg Barsby because they're like, oh, his percentage is super low because his ranking isn't that high, but he's in California. So that's where that would falter, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that could be true. I mean, from what I understand, the basic way it works is it's just based on who you beat in the field.
Yeah.
So like for Noah Miensma, his ranking and dominance index went up because he beat players like James Conrad, Kevin Jones, and Garrett Gurthey. Theirs would go down slightly because of who they lost to in that field.
Yeah.
And so it kind of updates simply based on who's in the field, the strength of the field, and who you're beating in that field. That's kind of what I understood, the very basics of it. There is an equation that it's like factoring all of that together and stuff like that. That's the part that I'm glad there's statisticians that understand that, because I'm not one of them.
Stats are ridiculously tough.
Side note on the UDisc World Ranking, because I was trying to like compare the full field, like add in all the notable players, is Kale Laviska somehow is not on there.
On the world rankings?
Yeah.
That's gotta be.
I like scrolled through them. I thought at first I just like, Command F or Control F searched his name.
Is he on the Pro Tour rankings?
He's got to be. That I can find easily. I like Control F searched his name on there, and I was like, well, maybe they just like have a misspell in his name.
Yeah.
So then I like scrolled through and just looked, and yeah, there was no Kale Laviska. Let me pull up the Pro Tour rankings here.
Well, yeah, because there's like 150 people in the UDisc rankings.
I think it was more than that, but yeah, there's over 100 for sure.
I think it's like 159 or something like that. I was looking earlier.
Yeah, and he would definitely be in the top. Well, I would say he's in the top 50.
I would say I'm pretty sure he's top 50 in the Pro Tour rankings. And you would think, like, even though they're not directly correlated, they should be somewhat correlated.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you're in the
top 50 in the Pro Tour rankings, you should be top 150 in the world rankings.
Yeah, he's 27 in the Pro Tour rankings.
So there's a mistake going on there.
Yeah, he's just. Let me see. I think when you click on their profile, it typically shows you their world ranking, which his is not. Let me click on someone else's profile, like Eagle. Yeah, Eagle says world ranking 1. And then if I scroll down to Kale Laviska and click on his name, there's no world ranking.
Click on a guy like slightly behind Kale Laviska in the Pro Tour rankings.
All right, Andrew Presnell.
See where he should.
His world ranking's 30.
Yeah, so there's so all right, UDisc, if you're listening.
Yeah, so somehow
Kale is missing.
Somehow he's missing from the equation. So that's why when I did the 1.9% chance, he might have had a little bit lower percent chance if he threw Kale into that mix as well.
Yeah, probably.
So very, very impressive win for Noah Miensma. On the FPO side, we had Jessica Weiss taking it down over Ellen Widboom coming in second, and then Lindsay Fish coming in third. It was good to see Jessica Weiss taking out another win.
Yeah.
I looked at her stats, and it's been almost exactly a year since her last win, which is kind of crazy.
Wow, yeah.
It was like July 15th or something of last year. So
that's tough.
A week shy of being an exact year since her last win, which, yeah, it was pretty surprising to me. Because she's always a very good player, and
for sure,
part of it I feel like is she must not be playing a lot of local tournaments because she could just clean house.
Yeah, I mean she could get a win if she really needed to.
Yeah, it's just that she's got to beat Paige or Kat most weekends,
right,
to get that win. Right. The other thing that we saw break with the Pro Tour last week, it was literally Wednesday night after we shot Grip Lock last week, was the ESPN deal.
In typical fashion, I think it was literally minutes after.
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes. I think we finished shooting the podcast, walked over to my computer, I sat down, I saw the tweet. I was like, the frick? Are you kidding me?
Very much. We bring the news.
Yeah, apparently.
So something's going to happen after we get out of these chairs today.
It hadn't happened in a while.
Probably an update on this exact thing.
Probably. That honestly is probably exactly what happened, because my first line here says the full details of this deal are still unclear.
The full details are being released as we speak.
The full details probably just got released on Old T World and we just haven't seen it. But from what we can tell, so far the Portland Open and the Pro Tour Championships are the only event tied to the deal. It looks like they're mainly going to be showing on ESPN2. They're hoping that maybe they'll be able to break onto ESPN, but right now it looks like only ESPN2. But here's from Old T World Disc Golf wrote a full article on this and has like quotes from several different people. You should definitely check that out. But here's a quote from the article from Jeff Spring. It says the contract shows that in regards to national broadcasting, disc golf is not just a filler for lack of a pandemic-era sports programming, but instead a valuable asset that draws significant viewership with compelling content. The ESPN programming schedule is busier than ever, with sports leagues from across the world coming back online, and we're excited to be a part of it. So I think he makes an important point there.
It's a very good point.
Last year we got on ESPN, everyone was saying, well, yeah, because there's no sports on. Disc golf's one of the few sports.
Yeah.
Now every sport's back.
Right.
Everything's going on right now. There's even Olympic content.
Do we know when the broadcast dates are?
The first one's August 6th, I believe.
August 6th.
Either August 4th or August 6th. Yeah, it's in the beginning of August.
Before the Olympics, I think. And see, the one thing to note about August 6th is you won't have the NBA back, you won't have the NHL back, and you won't have football yet. But
they're also doing the Pro Tour Championship, which doesn't even happen until October.
Now that one could be different, but for this first event, it is in the barren patch of sports where only baseball.
Which it looks like that first event will probably be the Portland Open.
Yeah,
and they said that they're going to be working with Gatekeeper, GK Pro, Jomez, and the Bluefoot Media, which is the same people who put it on last year, to kind of compile all the footage together and have 2 1-hour broadcasts is what it seems like. So I'd imagine like they did last year was an hour MPO, hour FPO or something like that. Like I said, the full details on the nitty gritty stuff haven't been released, but what this does kind of bring up is a question of 2 things. First off, I'm wondering if at what point, and this might be the point where disc golf being on TV isn't special.
Right.
To disc golfers, right? And the secondary question to that is, what does the viewership look like then? Because right now, if disc golf, last year when disc golf got on ESPN, the viewership was good. It was pretty, especially for what I would expect, viewership was pretty great. But that's because every disc golfer was freaking out and telling their friends.
Yeah.
Once you get on ESPN a little bit more, then it's you stop freaking out as much. I wonder what the viewership is going to look like when it's just that.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was Disc Golf Network started broadcasting through some small local network, and that was where it was. But the fact, anytime we get on ESPN, it's going to be. We're years and years and years away from being a regular stay on ESPN. I think we could get to the spot pretty soon, maybe, to where we are consistently getting our biggest events on ESPN. But, we haven't even made it to the main network yet. And, yeah, like I said, I think we are so far away from being a mainstay on the network to where it'll be a while before people aren't super freaking out about it, which is good, though. That's what we have to do. We have to say that we have to show them that we're going to get behind it. I'm curious, the fact that ESPN has come back to disc golf and continues coming back is really encouraging because it means that it's still to them worth pursuing. Now, like I mentioned, that first broadcast is going to be right in the middle of where they've got jack squat to show, as far as I know.
That's kind of where the disc golf season falls, which is what makes it great.
Which is
it's basically baseball and disc golf are going on, and some golf here and there.
That right now, if they were broadcasting things as they were happening, like Worlds, for example, that would have been during the NHL and NBA finals.
Yeah,
it would not have happened.
Yeah,
but although
there's off days.
To be fair, ESPN isn't always broadcasting all these things, although they are going to have the NHL next year. But I don't know. I'm guessing their game is probably still they're just feeling it out, and they want to be the first. They're establishing that relationship with disc golf to where the Pro Tour is going to have some loyalty to ESPN if it does get to the point where there's multiple networks down the road trying to basically bid for disc golf, which just sounds unreal. What I do suspect, though, and I always wonder what kind of deal that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is striking with ESPN, but I guarantee you that ESPN is absolutely fleecing the Pro Tour. Whatever they're paying for disc golf, and I don't blame the Pro Tour because A, the Pro Tour doesn't really know what they're worth, especially on the stage of big network television.
Yeah.
And B, Disc Golf Pro Tour knows they just need the exposure. So for them, it's really a marketing play.
Yeah, well, the Pro Tour did say that this deal was monetarily better for them, but all they alluded to in that was that there was more spots that the Pro Tour could sell commercial-wise.
Yeah, and I think...
So it might be a deal as simple as you give us the coverage, we'll give you X amount of spots that you can sell, and that's that.
Yeah, obviously, ESPN is not going to be paying a ton for it, but I don't think it's an issue. I think once we do start to get bigger, I think hopefully we're the Pro Tour is aware as to what they're owed, so they're not underpaid. But right now, it's definitely a non-issue, I think.
Yeah. Now the secondary question I think this brings, because like I think part of the issue that'll happen as we get, because to me this is a good sign that disc golf might start being like a few events a year, like you were saying, on ESPN's network, whether that's ESPN2 or whatever it may be. But the thing is, it's always going to be this post-produced coverage for right now.
Right.
And the thing that might hurt it is that as that becomes less special, us being on ESPN, the disc golf fans, who will make up a lot of viewers, I feel like, on ESPN, have already watched these events, like the Portland Open, the Pro Tour finale. We're going to have already seen it when it gets on. Some of us will tune in just because it's like we're on ESPN. That's it.
Right, yeah.
But as that allure goes away, as the like specialness goes away, I'm wondering how much that's going to hurt us. But the side thing is like, how far away are we from live disc golf even being on TV?
Right. It's that comes down to basically whenever ESPN decides it's worth the resources and that they can get the live viewership to make it worth the resources. Because the thing is, not only they don't need a ton of cameras, to basically produce what they're already producing, but when they decide to show, when ESPN broadcasts a sport, like now disc golf would be, the disc golf fans might get on that ESPN broadcast and point the finger at the Pro Tour for things, but everybody else is going to point the finger at ESPN for anything that happens. So ESPN is not going to go to a Pro Tour event and give you the product that we get from Disc Golf Network. They're going to give you an ESPN level product. So even though, they only need 4 cameras to replicate the product that we have right now, they're not going to do that. They're probably going to go all out. They also need to have a truck on site so that they can actually broadcast it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. And golf, because here's the other thing, maybe, I don't know, when ESPN obviously does golf coverage, they've got towers in place for cameras. They've got all this stuff that goes into, building structures before the event even starts. I don't know what they would feel would be necessary for them to, in their minds, capture disc golf the way that they feel like it'd be good enough for their network. Because that could be, maybe the issue isn't the resources. It isn't, the sport isn't there yet. Maybe it's we're not sure that we can capture disc golf in the way that we feel is good enough for our network yet.
Yeah, because it seems weird. Like, if you picture a golf tournament, because that's the coverage that's most similar.
Yeah.
Really, if you picture any sporting event, it feels weird if it was on ESPN and they have the like cameras that they use for ESPN and everything to like picture them walking down the fairway. That does happen in golf, but it's like one camera. But to
Right.
picture like the main cameras are being carried down the fairway the whole time.
Exactly.
That just seems odd.
They're in towers. They've got blimps. Like, there's so many cameras and mics too. Like, they've got mics placed everywhere. It is a production, and like there is a lot of money involved in the broadcast deals for golf events like that. So, as far as we know, disc golf may be miles behind that, because right now ESPN is literally approving a file, maybe giving them their artwork and just broadcast. Like, they're not doing anything. So for them, it makes so much sense to put disc golf on the network. It's like literally just free time slots that they can just throw in there and, move the needle a bit in a sport that people love. Because broadcasting it live is just a whole different ballgame.
Well,
I think we are maybe getting closer to having like a Pro Tour finale being live, like maybe within the next 5 years.
Oh, wow.
But it could be.
To me,
way
it's
longer.
still unfathomable.
Really?
I would be surprised. I mean, maybe because it's hard to predict the growth of disc golf, because we just witnessed explosive growth that isn't sustainable in the COVID era, and like all these players getting in and the social media blowing up of disc golf. That's not sustainable. So then at one point we're going to get like a quote unquote down year. Disc golf's going to keep growing, but picturing what I feel like ESPN would require to have it, because like it's not as simple as the Disc Golf Network's broadcast. You just slap the ESPN logo, because even just the technology behind it, it's not that simple. Mm-hmm. And even the graphics package, everything, like there's so much more work that goes into just picturing, because like you were saying, ESPN isn't going to be okay with, not that the disc golf network's like a subpar product, but when you're talking about broadcasting it on national television, it's a whole
ballgame.
different game.
Absolutely.
It's a whole different production level that disc golf's just not there because they're not going to be okay with. I think we use like 6 to 8 cameras covering 2 cards.
There's just no mistakes barely ever made when you talk about ESPN broadcasting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you've got guys in a truck, you know, the switchers like that are basically directors, like those guys are insanely good. You've got massive teams.
Yeah, you have like right now we have, from what I understand, like 3 or 4 guys that are switching and doing the graphics.
Yeah.
You'd have to almost quadruple that.
Yeah.
For the graphics and just switching. And stuff like that is just where it starts to get unfathomable. And I also see a lot of disc golfers that like get upset. They're like, oh my gosh, cornhole's on ESPN and like disc golf can't get there. Like that's how small we are. Cornhole is pretty massive when it's all said and done. Professional cornhole isn't, but I mean, everyone you know is throwing cornhole.
It's recognizable, yeah.
B, they can broadcast that with like 2 cameras and probably like 1 ESPN reporter, and then just have the normal commentators. Like that to them is probably just as easy and as cheap as broadcasting post-produced disc golf.
Yeah. Oh, it's
to where it's like we send, and that's the type of stuff that you might be able to use on-hand cameras and stuff because it's like we can control the entire environment. We don't have to like worry about weather. We don't have to worry about we're in the woods. Like broadcasting cornhole and broadcasting disc golf, like you can't even try to compare those two.
Yeah.
Like that's broadcasting cornhole is probably got to be one of the easiest things to do. And so it's the same type of idea of like, yeah, we'll throw it on our network.
Yeah.
Because like, why the heck not? It's so easy.
Exactly.
But I'm just interested to see if like over the next 2 or 3 years, whenever disc golf does become a little bit more relevant and like on ESPN regularly, if the fact that we're gonna have the live coverage and our normal post-produced coverage of these events already out, and disc golf fans who want to consume disc golf have already watched them, if that's gonna hurt our long-term chances with bigger networks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you know there might be 1 million plus viewers that have already watched the tournament that now won't watch ESPN because they already saw it happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a matter, too, of if that starts to happen, Pro Tour having to cut off post-produced.
But the disc golf fans are still going to watch it. So even if you cut off post-produced, like...
Well, then they're going to have to watch it through the disc golf network, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about ESPN. I'm not talking about like coverage in general. I'm saying disc golf fans are going to watch disc golf as disc golf happens. Whether it's post-produced, live, whatever happens. We're going to have already seen the Portland Open when 2 months later it's going to be on ESPN.
Yeah.
No matter how you see it, the nitty-gritty of that I don't think matters in this scenario.
And like honestly,
you've already seen it.
Honestly, now that I have seen disc golf on ESPN, like I will tune in for the Portland Open on ESPN just to see if anything is different than the last time we were on ESPN, but I won't watch the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying. And that's us.
Yeah.
It's literally our job.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm feeling the same way. I'm like, that's sick. I'll tune in.
I've seen them throw rollers all over that course for 3 hours. Like,
yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like that's what I already feel like my attitude towards it, and I'm like, hold up, like this is literally a part of my job, and that's my attitude. There's people who like we watched it. It was cool. It still is cool. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not really worried. I'm just wondering how much that's going to affect it.
Yeah,
because you know if we tank this, like if the ESPN broadcast tanks now, they're gonna be like, oh well, it's a waste of our resources. But it's just because we've already seen it. But I don't really know if there's a good way around that. Because you can't stop producing disc golf content, post-produced and live. You can't like stop where people can consume it just so you can consume it on ESPN months later because we're going to check the scores on UDisc then.
Yeah.
We're going to like...
It's a weird spot because like disc golf is nowhere near being consistently live on ESPN. So like it's not really something we should be shooting for. What would be great for the sport and the best goal is to get to the point where our most popular event of the year is live on a network.
Yeah.
That is where we want to be.
Like if we could, and that I think if the Pro Tour finale I feel like is the most obvious choice for that.
Change the format.
Yeah, but like, or maybe USDGC, but the issue with USDGC is like
owned by Innova.
There's this whole like ownership battle and Innova hasn't shown any interest in ESPN coverage yet.
Yeah.
But like, and even Worlds, but what I'm saying is like if we could have it where ESPN can like know the course a year in advance and be like, okay, we're gonna pick an open course because like I feel like setting up tower stuff in the woods is gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah,
like we can pick a course where we can control the environment. we can control all of this and just have like work it out. I could see something like that is more fathomable to me. Maybe somewhere that they already have infrastructure set up where it's as simple as like, we're already going to have a lot of our crew in this area. So like, it's easy just to send people there versus having to pay travel expenses and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know. Logistically, I feel like a tournament like that I could see being live, but like consistent disc golf live on ESPN where it's like all of our majors are broadcast, that's what's unfathomable to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's way, way, way down the line.
So that's where I'm like, how far away from being live on ESPN or CBS or whatever, like live disc golf on there? I mean, I'd just be happy if I ever saw it in my lifetime.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that'd be sick. But like, and at that point, that might not even be the most popular way to consume sports content.
Who knows?
So, with that being said, it's time for the fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia. I heard you have a fun one for me today.
I got a bit of an interesting one today. So today's it's more of a game than trivia, but
That's what I love.
kind of both. So today we're going to see how far, or maybe how fast, how fast, because it's not super difficult. You can get through the alphabet using just the first names of pros, MPO or FPO. Now there are, let's see, I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters that are pretty much impossible or not even possible at all. So when you get to one, I will warn you of that. But the rest of them, you should be able to do pretty easily.
Okay. I'm trying to think through, and I'm already stuck on B. So we'll just go with A, AJ Risley.
Okay.
B.
B is not an easy one.
Bo Tillman.
Okay.
He's not a really relevant pro anymore, but he's out of Oklahoma.
I'll accept that. I kind of figured you'd stick to like relevant pros.
Well, that was the first B that came to my mind.
Okay.
What's a relevant pro that starts with B?
Ben Callaway.
I didn't even think of him. Ben. Come on.
He's one of the harder ones.
C, Calvin Heimberg.
Yeah.
D, Dave Feldberg.
Yeah.
Eagle McMahon.
Yeah. Now, F is one of those near impossible ones. You're not going to get anybody super relevant. So if you can find a name, that'd be great. If not,
He's got to be like a Fred or something. Frank Kaminsky. Frank the Tank.
there's only one that I picked up that was like a name that I recognized.
That's really tough. What are some F names?
There's not.
I can only think of like Frank.
Frank and Fred and
I don't know of any disc golf named Fred.
the one. I'll tell you the one that I
Yeah.
got. It's Finley Buchanan Jacobs.
Oh, I never got to that guy.
Right, exactly.
I
That was a tough. F was a pretty difficult.
So do I
one.
lose because I keep going?
No, you can keep going.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I said was going to be
Double
like,
G,
impossible.
Garrett Gerthy.
Yeah.
H, Haley King.
Yeah. Now I is the next one that is like I could not find anybody relevant with I.
Isaiah Esquivel.
Who is that?
He's a junior, absolute baller in like the 15 under division, sponsored by DD.
Is he a pro?
I think he just went pro. Yeah, 16 under or something like that. He's like 16 or 17, and I think he just turned pro. Look him. I don't know how to spell his last name. I didn't even pronounce it right.
What's his name?
It's definitely Isaiah. Okay, we'll go Isaac Robinson.
Oh, there you go.
He's a pro. Plays for
Okay.
Prodigy.
Okay.
So there we go.
Great.
J, James Conrad.
Yeah.
K, Krishna Tatar. Mm-hmm. L. Gotta go through my alphabet. L.
This one's a little bit tough.
Leo Piernan.
There you go. I had Lisa Fakis written down.
Lisa
but
Fakis, that would have
that's
been
a good
easier.
one.
JKLM. Michael Johansson.
Yeah.
N. Nico LaCastro. O'Reilly. O's a tough one. Am I missing someone obvious?
There's only it's only kind of funny because go ahead, Konner. Because I would say it's only kind of funny because like you practically already said their name.
I mean, there's Connor O'Reilly, but that's not his first name.
No, not when you're saying.
Just say the letter
Just say
again.
the letter. Again.
O.
Yeah.
Owen.
Konner got it.
Owen.
You're real close with that. It's like you're mispronouncing it.
Owen. Well, now now even Silas got it. Stacking the shelves in the back, and I should know this. Owen Scoggins.
There you go. You're like, oh.
Well, I was stuck on Owen for some reason.
Wait, isn't there a player? Devin Owens is what I was thinking. Okay.
So P, Paige Pierce.
Yeah.
M-N-O-P. Q.
Oh, Q's impossible unless you know a Q.
I know a Q in the junior division.
Okay.
Quentin Penikoff.
There you go. Shout out Quentin.
He won a junior grant. What's after Q? PQR. R. Reed Friscura.
All right. I like these. No Ricky, just Reed Friscura.
I didn't even think of Ricky. S. Simon Lizotte.
Yeah.
PQRS. T. Tristan Tanner.
Yeah.
Thomas Gilbert. There's a lot of those.
U is also another one
U.
of those that's like darn near impossible. So like I couldn't really even find anybody relevant.
U. I feel like there's got to be like a Uriah. What's another U
Why
name?
does that sound familiar? Is there a Uriah?
That does sound familiar.
Konner.
I don't know how to spell Uriah.
Because you couldn't find a U?
I was basically looking through
The Pro Tour standings?
Uriah
standings.
Johnson.
and I was looking through like who was registered for recent tournaments and just sorting by alphabet to like find names. And I was not finding a U.
Yeah, I can't think of a U. What's some U names other than Uriah?
I don't know.
U's tough. I'm going to name my son something with a U one day.
Eustace. But I don't think
Houston, we have a problem. Okay, so PQRSTUV.
yes.
V. Vanessa Van Dyken.
Yeah.
PUV. W.
Mm-hmm.
First one came to my mind is like Wes Shinovar, but he's not. I don't think he's a pro. He's like the underground team manager.
This guy's got so many names.
Team Stamp Wes. There's got to be a Wes though. W or something.
Ulysses.
Ulysses.
Oh, Ulysses. There you go. A W.
The best disc golfer of all time.
What?
You almost said Ken Climo.
I almost said Ken Climo.
Oh my gosh, guys! You hear
Willie Prince.
Will Schustrick is who I have written
Will
down.
Schustrick.
But
What the frick? How am I forgetting these people?
you literally, this guy, just for the record, Hunter. After I just said the greatest disc golfer of all time, very first name that came to his mind was Ken Climo,
Maybe
not
that's
Paul
just
Macbeth.
Maybe that's just my inner thoughts.
That's your heart, man.
So X is next.
Ken Climo is the GOAT? Question mark.
What's X?
You're not gonna find one for X. Xavier.
Zenith.
Xavier.
There's no X or Y that I could find.
There's got to be a Y. I feel like there's got to be a Y, like a Finnish player,
Maybe.
like Yvonne or something.
Maybe.
Yanni.
Giannis.
No.
G. Okay, so then there's a Z.
Yeah. There's Z.
This is a lot easier than you think it is.
That's not going to help me.
I know, I was just picking at you.
Zebra. Xander. Zachariah Johnson.
That works. I had Zoe Andyke.
I said
So, yeah.
Zach Melton.
Zach
Oh, that
Melton.
works, too.
Once I thought of Zach, then I was kind of
Yeah,
set.
exactly.
All right, so there we go.
That's pretty good. I love that you just threw out some names there that were just absolutely random.
They were just the first ones that came to my mind.
Some shout outs out here. Yeah.
Well, some of them came from the Junior Worlds because I was just looking through that list. Junior Worlds starts today, or when you're listening to this podcast, yesterday, on Wednesday. Always exciting. I didn't see if there's any coverage of this. I couldn't find where anyone's covering.
It
This
usually isn't covered. Which
No.
is listen, in my opinion, watching like when I watch like the Little League World Series on TV, I think it's massively entertaining to watch like really talented youth players. I would love to see more youth disc golf. Like I'm talking about like the under 16s to where they don't even look like, you can tell they're not adults. It's one thing like the under 18s, those guys just look like pros at that point.
Yeah.
But like I'm talking like the really younger players, like it's so fun to watch how they compensate for them not being able to throw as far, or
Well,
like
some of the like 12 and under kids
the
will rip
disc
like
just looks
350
massive in
and
their
it
hand.
looks like they're throwing like one of those like. Did you ever throw that like hover thing?
Yeah,
that was full
like
of helium
huge,
when you were a kid.
That's what I'm saying.
And they
Like,
just rip it farther than I can.
let's get some coverage of that. People would watch.
There might be
Junior
coverage. Maybe
Worlds.
Dynamic Disc is doing coverage, or
Dynamic has done highlights in the past, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen coverage of Junior Worlds that I can.
I know
remember.
like USMs and stuff like that. I've seen coverage,
I
but
know
yeah, Junior.
back
I
in the
don't-
day, I definitely would know about it because I used to watch all the coverage of everything.
It wouldn't surprise me if like Terry Miller sent a crew the disc golf guy or something
Terry,
like that.
Come on, get out there.
If we fly out right now, you think we would make it?
To Emporia?
We wouldn't make it for the first day, no. But we'd make it for the second. But yeah, it's always exciting to see like the future of our sport on display here. We also have 4 of our junior grant winners were able to make it to the event. 2 of them elected to have their junior grant, like travel expenses and entry fees and stuff like that, go to different events because they couldn't make it into Junior Worlds. But we have Emanuele Lazama playing in the MJ12 division, Stacy Haas playing in the FJ18 division, Quentin Penikoff in the MJ10 and under division.
Heck yeah.
And Brendan Hauser in the MJ15 division.
My boy Brendan.
So best of luck to all of them. Hopefully they all tear it up. Maybe next week we'll go through the results and see where they finish. We also have a former Foundation-sponsored player in Luke Callahan trying to take down the MJ18 division. But he's got a tough task because Cade Philmahala, you might have heard that name.
That's the most electrifying name ever.
You might have heard that name because he came in 4th place at the Challenge at Goat Hill.
Yeah.
When he was on coverage with like Ricky, Brody. I think there's another like Ultimate player. He came in 15th at the OTB Open, and he just came in 16th at the Utah Open, and he finished top 100 at MPO Worlds. And here he is playing MJ18 at Junior Worlds.
Is he 18?
He's under 18. I don't know what his age technically is. Someone said he's like 16. But he's just never accepted cash. He's won open division events. It definitely brings in a question of... Because like people do this for Am Worlds too, where they'll play open and just deny cash. But like they'll be destroying open just because they want a chance to win like a Junior World title or an Am World title.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah, I don't think it's important.
I don't know if I like it.
Amateur status is completely dependent on whether or not you're paid. That is literally the definition of whether you're an amateur or a professional athlete.
I just don't like the idea that you can like let's say you wanted to win an amateur world.
We have not, but here's the thing though too, we haven't seen an example so severe. It'd be one thing if there was an 18-year-old that literally was like competing with like the top 5 every event and they were still trying to win.
I mean, this
Worlds.
dude came in top 20 at a Pro Tour event.
So he's a
five.
super promising am, and he'll probably turn pro next year after he just wants to win a Junior Worlds. I don't have a problem with that, and it's Junior Worlds. Too, about.
This kid is playing by the rules, so I don't want it to sound like I'm coming after him.
Yeah,
I just don't know if I like the rules that allows this loophole.
That's like that's like literally though. That's sports. Like that's how it's been. That's how it is for every sport that's am versus pro.
But that's like
you're not a pro. Like there's amateurs that play in like the U.S. Open in golf. They get invited, but they just won't accept money, and they continue to be amateurs.
But in golf, what are like the big amateur events?
There is a U.S. Am. Tiger Woods won it.
So would that be controversial if Tiger Woods had won the Masters? But I know this is a much bigger thing.
These things would never happen, though.
Okay, let's say that he came in top 10 or top 50 at the Masters.
He would not have been
invited. Didn't accept cash.
He wouldn't have been invited to the Masters as an Am.
But I'm just trying to compare it to disc golf.
Okay, so let's say the better one would be the U.S. Open because a lot of Ams get invited to the U.S. Open.
Okay, so he comes in top.
Because you can qualify locally.
He comes top 20 at the U.S. Open.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later, he goes and plays U.S. Ams.
Not a big deal at all.
No one's batting an eye at that?
Not a big deal. No, he would just be. They would just be like, wow, he's a really promising Am. Can't wait to see this guy turn pro. And he probably would. If you win Am Worlds, like you're going to turn pro. So like.
I don't know.
I think
I just
it's
don't
not
know
a
if I
problem
like
at
the
all.
loophole.
It's not a loophole. Like it's just like that's just the definition of am versus pro sports. You either accept money or
but
don't.
I just don't
if
like
you're if you have the potential to make a ton of money, and you're just sabotaging yourself by continuing to want to win titles that are meaningless, pretty much beyond like their worth and their name, then like that's your own fault. You know, there's nobody to be mad at but yourself. That's one less person to beat on the pro side of things.
I don't know what I don't like about it. I just don't really like the rule like that.
No, it's a non-issue. Definitely a non-issue.
What do you think, Konner? Like, my thing is, if you showed up as a 16-year-old to play MJ18, right, to try to win a Junior Worlds, you've only ever played amateur events, you're a killer. But then you have this guy who's like actually like killing it on the Pro Tour, and he's in your division. You don't feel like weird about it?
You say killing on Pro Tour. He's played like what, 3 or 4 events?
Yeah, and he's coming top 20 in them.
Okay, but I'm saying like he's not like consistently on tour. He's just played in some Pro Tour events.
What do you think?
I think it does feel weird. I'm not saying that it's not just
he's
the way
playing
that
it by
works.
the book. So like I don't want
yeah. He's doing the right thing. What they're essentially doing is they're basically just paying to stay in AMs. because by
Yeah.
denying cash, they're basically just paying for it.
Yeah,
And so
because they want to win on AIM Worlds, probably.
yeah, and I'm with you. It feels weird. I don't really have.
I just think
It's kind
too,
of like at nationals. There was the rule where like you couldn't be a touring pro for collegiate
Right.
nationals, so you couldn't. You like could only
There's a
accept
limit.
but so much money to before you're touring pro. And then the year Colin Carter came into nationals, and it was like calendar year. So January to January the previous year, he had accepted less cash than made him a touring pro. But then from January to April, he had accepted like $5,000 and was over 1,000 rated. So he should have been a touring pro. But since the rule was January to January, they let him play in nationals.
Right.
And then like you showed up in singles. He ended up losing, but that was because of a scoring error. Whole different story. Maybe we'll tell that on the Patreon exclusive podcast. Whole different story. Rather funny. Definitely not funny to him. Funny being a bystander and watching what all went down. Yeah, because he laid up thinking he was going to win because live scoring update. Anyways, you went into the week knowing like I've got to beat like the best player in North Carolina open wise. Like this dude's smacking around Barry Schultz and Schwebe, who shout out to Schwebe, just had his 300th win, second player to ever do it. But this dude's like slapping them around week in and week out, and then shows up to collegiate nationals at amateur major, and you're like, really? I got to beat him? It just felt weird.
Not an issue for me.
Maybe it's not an issue to anyone. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm weird. All right, on the other side of the coin, we have a Pro Tour event coming to Iowa. This is the like replacement event for what they were planning on doing in Europe. What European events got canceled.
Yeah.
The Des Moines Challenge. The Des Moines Challenge.
Des Moines.
The Des Moines Challenge. Des Moines. It's like Illinois.
Whenever we were talking, like whenever you guys were talking about this earlier before we started the podcast, like whenever you were planning it, were you guys just kidding by calling it Des Moines?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I corrected you like I actually thought you weren't kidding.
Oh, no, we were 100% kidding.
All right.
That's like, well, growing up, I actually did call it Illinois.
I think we all did.
Everyone around
Yeah,
here did.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy in my class that was from there, and he was like, it's Illinois.
Or like Arkansas.
How about this? When you're naming your state, just don't put an S at the end.
Like we just spell it right.
I'm sure.
Well, it's
it,
like,
sure it was named after a person, but like, let's just call it what it is. Huh?
Well, it could have been like
Whenever
a
you're
war
making
tactic.
names, just spell it right.
Yeah.
That's like Stanton around here.
Well, that's a whole different story.
yeah.
Save that for the Patreon podcast, man.
No, I think it's a funny story. Have you heard the Stanton story?
No.
So how do you say that?
It's STAUNTON.
NTON.
So you would call it.
I mean, I would probably just say Stanton because that's what I've heard. I feel like
Yeah. So
I would,
Stanton
coming
or
from
Staunton.
Pennsylvania, the first time I saw it, obviously I called it Staunton.
I don't think I've ever seen that word before.
So that's
I've
the
only
whole
ever heard
reason.
it.
The whole reason that locals in the South call it Stanton is from the Civil War, apparently. So in the Civil War, they named it that because there was Northern spies or something like that, and so
they
to be
couldn't-
able to out them, they would like say like, "Hey, we're going." Like they would basically like use that, and the Northerners always pronounce it the correct way, which was Staunton. And so then they'd hear you say Staunton, and they would know because like it was an agreement in the South that we're
That
going
they
to
were
call
all
that
illiterate.
Stanton. We're going
They
to call
all-
it Stanton, which
They all
is
agreed
wrong.
that they just didn't know how to read.
And so now, like, people from the South still call it Stanton.
That's actually the
that
coolest
is
thing.
so interesting.
I would be
That's
super
what- yeah.
proud to be from Stanton. Like I'd be like, I'd feel very like
That is so
included.
Yeah,
Cool.
when I learned that, it, like, blew my mind. Because, like, people from the North would always call it Staunton. And I'm like, well, no, we say it's Stanton. And they like, no, that's wrong. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, I
and I
don't know
learned
why.
it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, like,
that
it's
is so
intentionally
interesting.
wrong.
I
Just-
love Civil War
It's
history.
just like how everybody down here says tournament instead of tournament, and now I
Well,
do.
that's
it.
awful.
And now
Tournament is terrible. Everyone says tournament.
Tournament makes sense because it's tour.
tour.
But I say tournament.
When
I
if I
literally-
hear tournament come out of my mouth, like, I can't even say it.
I only say tournament now because I've been living down here for long enough to where it just like it happened.
I
to
feel like
me.
I have
Yeah.
marbles in my mouth if I try saying tournament.
But I always grew up saying tournament because that is how the word is pronounced. It's tournament. If you were in the Scripps National Spelling Bee and that was your word, they would say tournament.
And I would say,
And you'd be like, and you'd go
you use that in a
TURN. Like I don't have a problem with different pronunciations, but like it is like you
It
just
sounds like you
have
have a problem with
to
different
you have to
pronunciations.
admit at least.
So do you say like I'm gonna go play this tourney?
I
Instead of
used
tourney?
to. I
tourney? You
used
would
to.
say tourney?
Yeah. Like I agree.
What?
I agree. It doesn't roll off the tongue, but it is the correct pronunciation.
I like
It
how
is.
we're making fun of him now.
like as long as you admit that the word should be
No, yeah,
tournament.
it
I know.
definitely
like
should
then
be
I don't have an
tournament.
issue with it. We can call it tournament all we want. That's
Cool.
fine.
English will never make sense.
English
Let's
is
just
so
accept that.
Yeah,
stupid.
it won't.
What's a-
Whenever I would ever ask my grandma a question whenever I was a kid, and I would be like, "Why is this spelled like this?" She would just be like, "That's just our crazy English language."
That's just English, man.
Yeah.
It's just English. and that's Dallas. But yeah, Stanton I always thought was interesting. But anyways, back to Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Back to Des Moines.
back to Des Moines.
Des Moines, if you will.
I've heard some great things about this course they're about to play. The Pickard Park Gold layout, par 64 for MPO, 65
That's a tongue twister,
for
man.
FPO. Pickard Park Gold.
Say parked at Pickard Park like 5 times fast.
Parked at Pickard Park. Parked at Pickard Park. Parked at Pickard Park. Parked at Pickard Park. I'll say
Stop
it slow
before
and
you say something you shouldn't.
I'll
Just stop.
I'll say it slow and you speed me up in post.
All right.
Parked at Pickard Park. Dang it, I still messed up. Anyways, Pickard Park Gold. I mean, we already kind of talked about this, but I put it in the notes here where it feels like we're hopping into a second season, going back to the Pro Tour.
I know. I gotta catch my breath.
But I don't. So this is the part we didn't talk about before. Do you remember feeling this way previous years? Or is it like mixture of
It's
2
tough 'cause we
years
didn't have
off?
It's tough because we didn't have a Worlds.
That's what
last
I'm
year.
saying.
I've been following disc golf like uber closely this year. Because like when I was in college, I was more of a casual disc golf fan. So like this has been my first full normal season of disc golf as like somebody who works in disc golf and like is avidly following it because of the podcast. So it's tough to say. I don't think I've ever felt this way, but also it's tough to say because it may just have had related to the fact that the Worlds had such a ridiculous ending that it felt like the finale to a TV show.
That's what I was going to say. Is like I don't know if it was because I
expect credits to start rolling as James Conrad is running to the basket and like the Time of Our Lives starts playing.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm following disc golf just as much as I've followed it in the past years because I've always been like a diehard U-Disc follower and stuff like that. But I don't remember ever feeling like the season was over after Worlds. Because I literally feel like we're starting a second season of disc golf right now. And so I feel like it's a combination of we took 2 years off of Worlds or like missed a year of Worlds. And then we had the craziest finish of all time.
Yeah.
At Worlds. I think like it was just this culmination where like all of our emotions from the season just like, it just felt like the end.
Yeah.
It felt like just a storybook ending. And now we're like right back into it.
I agree with that as well. But it also feels like you said, like a new season because it feels like someone was dethroned. Even though Paul wasn't defending,
Technically, he was.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, you're right. He was. But like, so it felt like I think the fact that he was like basically dethroned from world champion made it feel like that too.
Also, I will say, like in golf,
I think if he would have won, then it wouldn't have felt like that as much.
that's a good point. And in golf too, like with majors, that's just kind of how they typically are. Even in golf, where there's 4 majors, like you do feel like that happens where you build up to the Masters, and then the Masters happen. It's like, oh, and then like the next weekend, you're like, oh, there's golf on again. Like, it does take like a couple weeks to like get your bearings about till you get to the next major. So that's just kind of how it is.
I mean, I think one good thing about it is like I just feel rejuvenated for disc golf. Like I came off of Worlds and I
I feel like I got run over by a truck after watching Paul get his heart ripped out like that, man. I feel like I got hit by a truck.
But like even like content wise, like everything, I just feel like I have a new outlook on disc golf right now.
I may have felt slightly that way until I played the worst disc golf of my life last night, and just
You really didn't play that
I literally
bad.
He didn't play that good.
It was
Nah,
bad.
it was pretty bad.
I literally got home, looked at my rack of discs, and was like contemplating listing them all on eBay. And just to be dramatic, but also because I felt like I wanted to. And I was like, I don't need all
You
these.
just need to get
They all
one good
fly the
shot
same.
in,
They
man.
all go into the trees the same.
You just need to hit that one shot that just like brings
I
you
almost
back.
did it too. On the
Oh
last
yeah,
hole. Maybe we'll save that.
We'll save that for the
Patreon.
Patreon podcast too. But no, that was a baller move. He almost walk off ace the last hole.
Would have been crazy.
It would have been insane. Ended up, it probably wouldn't have actually mattered because Connor's the clutchest man on earth.
No, it would have mattered if I'd have made that.
You would have
we
tied.
would
Would've
have
mattered.
tied. Yeah,
I would have given up. I would have conceded.
That's probably true too. I would have conceded and I was up like 10. I would just be like, screw this. I'm walking home. But let's look at some predictions for the Des Moines Challenge. My top 3, I think Ricky's going to take it down. I don't know why. I think Calvin's going to come in second because Calvin always comes in second. And for some reason, I was looking at this list and Nico LaCastro was just reaching out to me, yelling at me, saying, pick me. And so I put Nico as my third.
that's funny you say that.
I went Ricky, Calvin, Nico.
I didn't take Nico, but like there was a player to me that was having that same effect. A player that I think is just very due for a win right now, and that player is Kevin Jones, and I'm picking him to win.
Oh, you're picking Kevin Jones to win.
I'm picking Kevin Jones to win
Looky
the
here,
Des
looky
Moines
here.
Challenge. And I have Calvin in second because I think he's the other guy that may just absolutely go off for a win, and then Ricky in third.
There you go. Now we also are going to be bringing back the dark horse picks.
Wait, did we do an FPO?
Well, I was going to do the dark horse
and
pick
FPO?
for MPO2, and then I have like one other thing I want to follow for MPO, and then we'll go into FPO
Okay.
prediction.
Before we do this, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is so dumb, but I am on the PDGA website on the Des Moines Challenge 2021 Ewing Flex Start.
Nope.
There's different. It's a different event.
What's it called then?
It's presented by Discraft.
And yeah, it should have DGPT in front of it.
Okay, because I did not see that. All right, continue what you're doing.
Well, I'm going to let Trevor say
I found it.
his dark horse pick first.
Listen, my dark horse pick. He's $9.99 rated from Iowa, and his name is Eric Shomo.
Cheap.
And I thought, what did you say over there, Chick-fil-A boy? Listen, everybody knows that now Eric Shomo is going to suffer a tragic end because I just picked him. But I thought that name was really cool, and he's high rated from Iowa. So, like, you know, I might as well just try.
I'm going along the same train of thought, but I'm picking someone. Wait, where's your guy even from? Let me scroll down and find your guy.
Iowa.
Well, yeah, but like what city in Iowa?
Oh, I don't know. That's
You
not
went Eric Shomo, Norwalk? Yeah, that's so far away from Des Moines.
Norwalk, dude.
That's
No,
so
it's
far
not,
away.
dude.
That's
It's
hours.
the next town over, man.
That's hours
It's a
from
hop
Des
and a
Moines.
skip.
I'm picking a local boy, Matt Polson, 990
Des
rated
Moines?
from Des Moines, Iowa.
That's a lot of pressure, man.
990.
A lot of
Matt,
pressure.
but he designed the course. Actually, he put that course in.
That course is in before he was born, man. Grow up.
I'm gonna actually look this up. While Connor, who you got? Are you picking your guy right now?
Connor's like,
I'm gonna look up Norwalk to Des Moines.
He
I'm
picks like the
gonna-
first guy in alphabetical order. I'll take Alvin Alverstein.
I'm going to go with John Jones.
There's
Da 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 da.
Johnny
What?
Bones Jones is there.
Oh, 20
rated
minutes. Norwalk's 20 minutes away.
996.
996. John Jones. Where's he from?
He's from Kansas City.
Kansas City, Missouri?
That's where
Or
Missouri.
There's a Kansas City,
Missouri.
Kansas. Or is it St. Louis? Yeah, there's a Kansas City, Kansas
He's from
too.
Kansas
There
City,
is.
Kansas City, Kansas City.
Kansas City, Missouri.
New York,
Yes,
New York.
Missouri. Yes, Missouri. The United States.
He's 3 hours away from the course. It's really
That's
not that bad.
pretty far, bud. He's never
Yeah,
been.
you know why I chose him? Because I thought he was going to do good.
All right, well, we'll see.
Interesting.
Coffee's back on the line. Connor hasn't paid for the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, so I was confused.
The money
You
has
have
to go
to Venmo
me
Trevor
because
$10.
I paid for
Okay.
Hunter's Chick-fil-A.
Gotcha. $10.
Yeah.
Coming
Trevor's
at you.
wife brought us Chick-fil-A,
Basically,
and I placed my order for
I
Connor to pay
collect
for it.
600% interest though on late payments, so
So
that's going to be $60.
the other person I think will be interesting to see is where James Conrad finishes. Coming off his first world championship, he did play at the Majestics
So
last
I'm
week
not as interested now that I've seen him.
and came in 12th there, but it wasn't
back
against a
on to earth.
full-blown Pro Tour field. So I just feel like it has to be weird, kind of like we're talking about. It's weird, like watching it, but like imagine James Conrad, like you just achieved probably your disc golf dream. Like it's got to be everyone's
Yeah.
disc golf dream. You just achieved like your career dream in the craziest fashion ever, and then it's like, oh, you're right back on tour, bud. Like, go kill him. You know what I mean? Like you just reached the pinnacle of your career
Yeah,
as far as like you're now a world and U.S. champion,
that's crazy.
and then you just got to go back on tour the next
that's
like.
that's impressive company right there. World
Yeah,
and U.S.
that's what I'm saying.
A lot
There's
of guys haven't done
very
that.
few people in that.
Here's the thing. Man, that would have been a great trivia question, you idiot.
World and U.S. champions.
Yeah,
I mean, I had to think Ken Climo, Paul Macbeth, James Conrad, Barry Schultz, Dave Feldberg.
I think so.
I can't really think past that.
I don't think Doss has a U.S. Does he?
I don't know. Maybe that's a no. I can't be a future
In
trivia
any
question.
case, I think James Conrad's season is just going to look like the beginning of it did. He's just going to like every once in a while have a chance at winning and just have a lot of top 10s, top 15s. Like
Yeah,
Worlds, he just strung it all together for a week, and like that's what it takes to win a major or any event. Really, is you just got to put it all together for a week, and that's the disc golf scene right now. It's really hard to win.
extremely hard.
And we almost somehow Worlds almost did the thing it does where like all the best players rose to the top and like one of our best players almost won Worlds again. And now James Conrad is still one of our best
He's
players.
6th in the world right now.
Right. But I'm saying like Worlds has done this weird thing over the last few decades where it was like Climo, Paul, and Ricky winning all the Worlds, which is just super crazy that tournament does that. And it used to be because there was a million rounds.
I think it's just because you don't get to be a top player in the world without like a clutch factor and knowing how to win.
Right.
And
James has the clutch factor. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. And so I think that when World shows up and everyone feels that pressure of like it's a world championship, then it's going to cause the top to rise to the top.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with it, the pressure for sure.
Yeah.
That's why you see guys like Sexton hanging around too.
Yeah, because he's been there. He knows what to do. On FPO, prediction-wise, I've got Paige Pierce taking it down. We'll talk about that in a second. Kristen Tatar I'm have coming in second. I'm going to have Katrina Allen finishing in third.
I got Katrina first, Paige second, Kristen third. I think Katrina might be on cloud 9. I think the rest of her season could be really good.
Well, yeah, so, on MPO, I think seeing where James finishes after winning is going to be interesting. On FPO, I think seeing where Paige finishes after losing is going to be the more interesting storyline. Because if she comes back and does what I just predicted, where she wins, rest of the season, typical Paige, she just happened to lose Worlds.
She takes another bad loss. That could be real interesting.
Because she was starting to have a dominant year. She had won 4 or 5 straight.
She was definitely picking up steam.
Elite Series events leading into Worlds, but then lost Worlds in a very unpaged fashion. Basically just, for lack of a better term, choked it away on 18.
Threw it away, yeah.
I expect Kat to just be Kat, and she's going to be up there in contention because she's like the Calvin Heimberg of FPO, where she's always around. She's always up there. So I expect Kat to be up there. I think it's just going to be interesting to see what Paige does and how Paige reacts. So this is Paige's first tournament back since Worlds. Also, another interesting thing is we don't see Eagle McMahon on the list to be at this tournament.
Yeah, he takes breaks sometimes during the season.
Yeah, I haven't really seen him post about he's taking a break intentionally or the reasoning behind it.
Simon
or anything like that.
there? Conspiracy theory time. Is Simon
there? Is there some sneaky Discmania stuff
That's
going on?
That's what I'm saying. Is there a sneaky Discmania event thing that they need to be doing?
Let's see.
Unlock the conspiracy. Is Simon at this event?
Let me scroll. What's Simon rated?
I don't know, probably 1030 something.
Okay, I'm down to 1015s, and there is no Simon Lazat.
Ooh, so it looks like there could be some sneaky Discmania things happening. What if they're filming something? You never know.
Maybe.
Wow.
Interesting.
Just remember I said that when the new Discmania Corvette comes out. It's a brand new electric car.
Man, Italian made. It's Ferrari.
Yeah.
Which, update on that. We have officially gotten our hands on a P2, a prototype P2.
Yeah.
Plastic feels great. Disc feels great.
It's a great feeling disc.
We
feels
also,
great.
We handle some charity auction stuff for the Paul Macbeth Foundation. Stuff will come into us and then they'll run the auction and then we ship it out. One of the discs that I don't think they've put on auction yet, but I'm sure it's okay for me to say because they're going to put it up auction at some point, is the new C-Line PD. So we got to feel the Italian blend plastic. Italian blend plastic. I don't know what I said there. I don't really think there's too much exactly comparable on the market, but I feel personally I felt like the plastic it was closest to is Champion.
I think so.
Which I think that is great news for Discmania. Mm-hmm. And also the PD felt like a PD. You hand me that, I'm guessing it's a PD every time in my hand.
It's really impressive. Discmania is onto something. They are really onto
There's
something.
nothing bad about the plastic.
No, it feels great.
The only thing we don't know is the durability.
Yeah, and obviously we can't throw a charity disc into a wall and test that.
But
we could, but that would kind of make us scumbags. But the P2 we're definitely going to do a review of and stuff. Hopefully we can find old D1 or old D1.
P2.
Old D-line P2.
Do you still have yours? Any of your P2s?
Yeah,
I got rid of
I've
mine.
never owned
man.
one. He got rid of his. Konner got rid of his. So
my brother-in-law threw one into a lake a couple months ago.
So we can just go swim in that
threw
lake.
An S-line P2. Yeah, that's what
somebody.
S-line
We
P2.
can get one.
We'll find someone somewhere. But
I know where I could get one.
Your brother?
No,
Pete?
Meekly.
Oh,
He's got P2s for galore. I'm sure of it.
there we go.
Why did I not hold on to those?
You could have been a millionaire.
Every single week on the podcast, whenever we bring up Discmania, that's all I think in my head is why did I get rid of those?
Yeah.
I had almost a full Discmania.
Luckily,
bag.
I didn't own a ton of Discmania to where
I had so
I can't
much
feel super
Discmania.
guilty.
Nah, the only Discmania I have is in my bag.
I had
Being
lot
a
of
disc
P2s,
golfer
though.
and being in college is rough because anytime you
Are you really getting a phone call right now?
sorry.
How unprofessional. As I've sat over here on my phone half the show.
But I just lost my train of thought. Oh, it's so hard to be in college and be a disc golfer because that just means you're broke, and at any second you have or any chance you have, you're going to trade in all of your discs to get one other disc from Play It Again.
It's true.
I traded in all my discs for a set of golf clubs. one of my Prodigy allotments. It was like
Ouch.
60 some Prodigy discs.
You're going to disc golf jail for
Yeah,
that.
if you go to the plate again in Lynchburg, all Prodigy is in the U section.
Yeah, just from Liberty
And
players.
it's all brand new.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where the whole used like basket was just my Prodigy stuff,
I used to
and
have
it all
a
had my
ton-
name on the bottom.
I used to have a ton of stuff in that.
I used to buy so much stuff with the teammates' names on it.
Yep, That's what we did.
Good
Cycled
stuff,
through
man.
it.
That's right. Is it reused?
But yeah, I
recycled?
mean, the D-line plastic from Discmania has almost like a
Is that even what they're going to call it?
I think so.
It's incredible.
It's got like a
It feels
a
better than
grip to
P-line
it.
used to.
It's got a texture that I haven't felt in other plastics.
Yeah, it definitely it doesn't. I don't really know what baseline to compare it to.
We're not being paid to say this either.
No, by no means. Unless you want
Unless
to,
you want to,
Discmania.
UC.
There's always the option. But no, like it genuinely, I've personally never even thrown a P2.
They're
So
amazing.
we'll probably have to have Trevor do the review.
I'll know the difference. 'Cause
Yeah.
I threw them more than anything else in my entire bag.
So we'll probably do a mixed review of Trevor and I, so like you can see a first time just putter thrower. Or not first time putter thrower, but like a first time thrower with a P2 who just likes putters, and then someone who used to throw a P2 all the time. But very promising stuff. And when I felt it and I was like, this feels very similar to Champion, just like a little different, I was like, that's great news for them and for me because I want a C-Line MD3 still. So very exciting stuff. They're also all PDGA approved now. Another update. I don't know how that works, that like the prototypes were sent out and then they got PDGA approved. Like, does that make the prototypes PDGA approved? Or like now any runs going forward are PDGA approved?
Nobody's going to care.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
I
not
care.
calling anyone on it.
I'm calling them on it.
Good thing Konner doesn't play tournaments anymore. Did you ever play tournaments?
Just
college?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Good for you, man.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show with a Make That Call. This one is going to be a pretty specific scenario, and some people will know where I got the scenario from. So, Trevor, I'm going to paint you in this scenario here. Okay. You're playing in a tournament on a course that uses logs and large branches to line fairways and greens and stuff like that. You walk up to a pretty scenic hole. There's down logs kind of like marking the green a little bit. Player's drive on your card lands right next to one of these logs. He proceeds to move it as it is dead and unattached. Is this, in this scenario, allowed?
And the log is behind his lie.
Yes. Yeah.
So if it were just a branch, he would be able to move.
Correct. But it's just the fact that it's been intentionally placed and
Right.
like is used to line the fairways and stuff
I'm
like that.
pretty sure there's a rule where brush and things of that nature that are meant to be in place to like define the course are not allowed to be moved. So that's my call.
So that's correct.
Yeah,
So
I've
a
heard
player
that one
must
before.
choose the stance that results in the least movement of any obstacle that is permanent or an integral part of the course. A player may move casual obstacles that are partially or completely on the lie or in the stance area, regardless of whether they extend in front or behind the lie. A casual obstacle is any item or collection of loose debris, such as stones, leaves, twigs, or unconnected branches, or any item as designated by the director. So that happened at Worlds. I believe it was Paul. People have been like saying Paul cheated because apparently he moved. I didn't actually see this instance, but apparently he moved a log that people were saying was like intentionally put there as like an integral part of the course.
Interesting.
So that's where I painted that scenario from.
How do you make that clear that it's part of the course?
Probably to know, you'd have to throw a provisional and get permission from the. You have to ask the director.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on where it is because
Unless
like
the card can decide.
if like the map has the log on it, that's a pretty good indicator. Like, hey, that log's there. But like, it's also like we did it at Camp Hideaway some where like the fairways would be lined with like fairway logs.
But those-
we would in the players meeting say you're allowed to move them if you need to. But if we hadn't said that, those would technically be a part of the course because it's pretty obvious that like these are in a perfectly straight line lining the fairway type thing. Or like if you have like two logs on the sides and then you have to like go through type thing. Sometimes you can just easily tell. Obviously, Paul didn't intentionally cheat, so he must have just not thought that was a part of it. But people were saying like, oh, it was a part of the course. So that's kind of where that came from because I was like, it is interesting because like if you use something that normally is very like you just move it, but like use it for course design, like where is that line? And it's a pretty clearly defined line, I feel like, in the rule book. But that's gonna wrap it up for this week's show. You've heard us hint at it some, but we are starting up an exclusive podcast for our Patreons for every single tier. So the $5, $15, and $50 tiers will all have access to our exclusive podcast can be happening once a week. So if you enjoy the podcast and wish it was longer, or you just want more content, we're not going to be talking about like current events per se. It's going to be, we're calling it the Bogey Bro Banter. So basically, it's just going to be sitting back, story time, talking about what's going on with disc golf, with the shop, whatever, stuff like that. But links in the description if you want to check that out, or you can head over to patreon.com/Foundation Disc Golf. It sounds like this first week we're going to be talking about, I have a story to tell about my dad's almost first ace, as well as Trevor's almost first ace, and then,
First ace.
well, not first ace, almost walk-off ace at last week's weekly. And then I'm sure we'll talk about some other random stuff as it comes up, and we always go on tangents. So if you want access to that, as well as an exclusive video every month and your name on the Patreon Wall of Fame, those are 3 new benefits that we just added to every single tier. You can head over to Foundation or patreon.com/Foundation Disc Golf, or check the link in the description below. And other than that, we will talk to you next week.